Hello, critical thinkers. Hope all is well. Hopefully, everyone is having a great night. Happy Easter to all. Today is a very important live stream for me. Today, we're covering two things. One is we're covering the case of Adam Lafferty, and the Adam Lafferty case is a case that I want to say periodically I've heard the name. I saw some TikTok videos, some videos made on YouTube, and I couldn't quite get around to covering it, but now I felt now is the right time to cover what's occurring with what occurred with Adam Lafferty and also the family and a civil case that has emerged. Also, one thing I want to do before I go into the Adam Lafferty case is go into what is currently happening with the New York State Attorney General Letitia James and the civil case brought about by the Robert Brooks family. So I'm going to be going over those two topics today. So one thing I think that's important for people to know is that if you take a look at all of my videos and all of my live streams, I would like to think of it as a massive spider web of deception, a massive spider web of abuses, a massive spider webs of murder. Most people aren't aware of spider webs in their homes. So you can go about your home and live your life, but then if you suddenly look very closely in a corner, you look up and you notice that there's a spider web in that corner. Not only is there a spider web in that corner, there's also a spider, right? So my videos, I like to think they bring a lot of different elements together and things begin to tie and you begin to see a pattern the same way you would look up and look at the design of a spider web. Now, one thing I want to do very quickly is bring up a video of the family attorney that's involved in the civil case of Adam Lafferty. Okay, I've done a couple of videos in which I've mentioned this attorney by name, and she is a pit bull attorney. I mean, she's doing some big things on behalf of incarcerated individuals who have been abused, who've been severely mistreated with some pretty severe injuries. So I want to play for you a clip of this attorney, Kathy Rosenfeld, in reference to a pending civil case in which she's representing a gentleman by the name of Adam Bauer. So I'm going to bring that up now. Give me one quick second.
He was kicked and punched.
All right, let me bring this up at the right point.
Infirmary where Robert Brooks was
and punched repeatedly. He sustained serious injuries. He had to have approximately 20 stitches to the top of his head. He was taken to the outside hospital.
The head injury, he says, caused by a metal clasp on a clipboard that was slammed over his head.
Some officers at Marcy seemed to have the impression that they can engage in brutality against incarcerated people without consequence. Mr. Bauer, my client, thought that he was going to die the day that he was assaulted by officers back in 2020. He feared for his life.
When he got out of prison, Adam Bauer filed a lawsuit against the officers and the facility. That suit is about to go to trial. One of the COs named in it is Nicholas Anzalone, also seen in the Brooks beating video.
Okay, I wanted to stop it there because, again, similar to a spider web, you'll see designs, you'll see patterns that emerge. And in this case, Katie Rosenfeld, pardon me, is representing Adam Bauer in the civil case, who was assaulted severely by Nicholas Anzalone. This is back in 2020. So today's theme is accountability. At the start of this live stream, I had a graphic in which I am going to be putting out a petition to actually change the name of the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, because there is no corrections in New York State docks and there is no community in New York State docks. Instead, I'm proposing that we call them the New York State Department of Corruption and Criminal Statist, based on their behavior. So you'll be seeing that petition very soon, very soon. So what I'm looking to do next is I would like to share an article with you, and this is in reference to the civil case, and again, the theme of accountability or lack thereof. So I'm going to bring this up now. Give me one quick second. No, pardon me, remove that. Okay, here we go. So this article is from the Times Union. It's a very brief article, but I think it's important to go over the lack of accountability from the state and the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James. Here we go. The Times Union. State seeking to shield itself from being sued over Robert Brooks' death. Oneida County, New York. The Times Union is reporting that New York State is seeking to shield itself from being sued over the death of Robert Brooks. According to the report, State Attorney General Letitia James' office filed a motion aiming to place the liability solely on the prison guards accused of killing Brooks. Her office is seeking to shield the state and the Department of Corrections commissioner from the lawsuit that Brooks' family filed. Now, let's just stop here for a second. The office of the New York State Attorney General is looking to have themselves removed as defendants, the state of New York and the New York State Department of Corruption and Criminal Statist. They're asking to be removed from this civil lawsuit. Now, we know through patterns. If you just take a look at my videos by themselves, you take a look at the Marshall Project, you take a look at New York Focus and all of their articles detailing what's going on with New York State docks, you'll see that they have known about these abuses for decades. They've known about these abuses for decades. They've allowed these abuses to happen. They have failed to terminate correctional officers. They have allowed the collective bargaining agreement with NYSCOBA to be in place. And according to my records that was recently renewed, maybe back in 2023, 2024, the collective bargaining agreement was renewed. So there is responsibility and there has to be accountability from the state, and accountability that docs has to have for all of these murders, the brutality behind bars. There has to be consequences and the state has to pay. New York State tax dollars is funding these settlements. So I want to continue on with this article. We'll move on. Body cam footage shows guards beating Brooks, a grease man incarcerated at Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County, in a medical exam room back in December. He died in the hospital the next day, and 10 guards had been indicted. The lawsuits against those guards are still in motion. In addition to criminal prosecution, in total, 6 guards are charged with second-degree murder, 3 are charged with manslaughter, and 1 is charged with evidence tampering. So that's the end of that article. I want to bring up another. I want to bring up another actual court document in which Catherine Rosenfeld has represented another formerly incarcerated individual. I had covered this case before. This here is the complaint, which stems from a formerly incarcerated individual by the name of Matthew Raymond, who recently received a settlement of $1.2 million. This civil suit was against Troy Mitchell, a lieutenant at Auburn, the correctional facility themselves. It names a sergeant, Thomas Harte, Thomas Phillips, a correctional officer at Auburn, and it names other correctional facilities. I'm sorry, it names other correctional staff listed here. So, you know, we have to give these attorneys that are representing formerly incarcerated individuals their props, because these cases don't typically settle overnight. They're years and years in the making, and it's very discouraging for people who are formerly incarcerated and their family members to deal with these civil suits, because they take up a lot of time and they take up a lot of money. So I'm going to stop sharing this here. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Now, I had mentioned before, I've heard about Adam Lafferty through TikTok videos, through YouTube, and it wasn't quite the right time to cover this case until now. And with all the cases that I do cover, this is going to be a case that I follow from start to finish. As long as I'm breathing, I'm alive, I will cover these cases. I will cover the civil cases. Now, the civil cases obviously take a lot longer to have a final disposition than in a criminal case. They take a lot longer. But I will be covering this and speaking with the family members so that I'm able to update you. So I'm going to share this article here. Give me one quick second, and let me pull it out. Okay, so this article is from the Finger Lakes Times, and the writer is Lois Hoffman BROACH, and the title is "He Had More Love Than He Probably Thought." Now, this writer for the Finger Lakes Times has been covering the Adam Lafferty case for some time, so I give her my respect and my props to her for covering this. And so let's take a look here. This is his memorial. A table was set up at Adam Lafferty's celebration of life at the Rose Community Building Saturday. Lafferty was murdered in 5 Points Correctional Facility in Romulus in December, where he was serving time for a burglary charge. His preliminary death certificate lists the cause as homicide. Rose. The face painting, balloons, there was face painting, balloons, a lot of food, and so many people at one point that there wasn't enough room for everyone to sit down at a table. A celebration of life for Adam Lafferty, held Saturday at the Rose Union Community Building, attracted more than 150 family members and friends, co-workers of Lafferty's relatives, and others who wanted to show support, share a meal, and remember Lafferty. Quote, "It was such a nice evening," said Lafferty's brother, Justin Baird. "I was shocked by how many people were coming in and out. Adam had more love than he probably thought." Some shared childhood memories of Lafferty, 40, a Clyde resident who was killed while serving a burglary sentence at 5 Points Correctional Facility in Romulus in December. His preliminary death certificate lists homicide as the cause, although no one has been charged as yet. Seneca County District Attorney John Nabinger and representatives of the New York State Attorney General's Office and Department of Corrections and Community Supervision said last week their investigations into what happened to Laferty December 23rd remain open. He was found dead on his bed in his cell with deep ligature marks on his neck and severe bruises on his head. State police, uh, State Police Bird told him early in the investigation that his brother's death was 100% a homicide. Nabinger and representatives of the two state agencies would not elaborate on a suspect or if correction officers were implicated. However, in a news release before the current strike of correction officers, the union that represents them, the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association, indicated that Lafferty's cellmate made incriminating statements and was removed from the cell as officers tried unsuccessfully to revive Laferty. The release, which also documented other occurrences of violence in the prison, was sent to show Nyskova found the facility was unsafe for both inmates and correction officers because of poor staffing. Baird and his mother, Patty Baird, believe there is much more that happened to Laferty. In documents that Laferty gave to them and also sent to a federal judge in Buffalo, the inmate predicted he would be murdered and even noted the date it would happen. Now, I've heard this multiple times, and every time I've heard this, I've had to pause and I had to read it again or I had to listen to it again. And I'm going to pull this up again and read it again because this is something that is straight out of some sort of horror film or Twilight Zone episode. It's really hard to believe. So this is saying Baird and his mother, Patty Baird, believe there's much more that happened to Laferty. In documents that Laferty gave to them and also sent to a federal judge in Buffalo, the inmate predicted he would be murdered and even noted the date it would happen. So we have to read a little bit further along to understand how Adam knew this was going to happen. Laferty, a frequent complainer about prison conditions and someone who brought several allegations of abuse, previously had filed a motion with U.S. District Judge John Sinatra, October 11th, 2024. So again, Laferty had complained about prison conditions. He complained about being abused by correction officers, and he even had filed a motion with U.S. District Judge John Sinatra on October 11th, 2024, stating that his civil rights had been violated. Continuing on with the article. In the documents the family has, there was a second letter that Laferty wrote to Sinatra on October 30th, 2024, requesting appointment of counsel and saying that his life would be in danger if he were not moved out of his current cell. In the October 30th letter, he said a correction officer told him that his cellmate, who already had threatened to kill him, would be told December 22nd after dinner that Laferty was a snitch and to eliminate him. His cellmate, Laferty asserted, was serving a 90-year sentence for murder and was part of a prison gang. It would be in retaliation for filing grievances and my civil rights lawsuit against correctional officers and prison officials. He wrote in the October 30th letter. Now, again, this is something that is very, very surreal. very Twilight Zone, very straight up evil. So in retaliation, let me bring myself bigger because I want you to see me when I'm talking about this. So in retaliation for filing complaints about abuse, which by the way, many incarcerated individuals have said, once you file a grievance against a correction officer, you have a target on your back. And this makes me think of a recent case that I've covered. I covered the case of Hector Camacho, who died under very suspicious circumstances. And he was someone who complained and filed grievances against correctional officers because of these beatings. Now you see that retaliation for people who are incarcerated may mean you may lose your life. This is crazy. This is crazy. And again, I'm going to read this paragraph again because I want to emphasize it. In the October 30th letter, he said a correction officer told him that his cellmate, who already had threatened to kill him, would be told December 22nd after dinner that Laferty was a snitch and to eliminate him. So one question that I have, again, people who are in the chat now probably have more knowledge about correctional institutions, but I would think someone who is slated to get out in 6-7 years should not be with someone who's serving a life sentence or serving 90 years. It seems very odd that he would be paired with this individual in his cell. And I think also, noting that he complained that his bunkie threatened to kill him, why is he still in the same cell with this individual? That doesn't make sense to me. All right, let's move on to the article. Just very quickly, for anyone just coming on for the first time, if you can do me a quick favor and like the video, if you can like the video, comment, if you can share the video to help with the algorithm. YouTube does not favor this type of content, and this is going to be a grassroots thing. I need everyone to push this out to get this story out there. So let's move on to the article. Sinatra, who's a federal judge, did respond to the first letter. He said that Laferty needed to file an amended civil rights complaint that named the correction officers and prison officials and include specific dates and describe the incidents in which he was asserting his rights were violated. Laferty's family believes Adam was in the process of doing that when he was killed. After the second letter, Sinatra, according to court papers that were placed online by Desiree Yegan, did appoint a pro bono counsel to Adam Lafferty on November 25th, 2024. Yegan created a YouTube channel to report on, among other things, federal lawsuits. It is not known if Lafferty was made aware of the appointment or had contacted whoever was appointed. His relatives also echoed a concern that Laferty had expressed repeatedly. How does someone serving a maximum of 7 years on a third-degree burglary conviction, categorized as a non-violent felony, end up in a maximum security prison with a cellmate convicted of murder, as Laferty had asserted? That was one thing I mentioned before. This seems to be, why would they be bunkies? Why would they be paired together? The family is represented by New York City attorney Katie Rosenfeld. Patty Baird said Rosenfeld is preparing to file civil notices in the matter in state and federal court. Quote, "We want answers, most of all," end quote, Justin Baird said. And that is the end of the article. So one thing I want to do, I want to see if anybody wants to come up and chit chat or share your thoughts about the Adam Lafferty case. While that's happening, real quickly, for anyone who wants to come on, I just say you have to show your face, share your camera, no loud music in the background. I don't want to get a copyright strike, and just be respectful. So I'm going to go, excuse me, I'm going to go back to the bottom to the top, and just read your comments before anyone comes on. Okay. So here we go. Let's start from the top. Woody's watching. They left me to die too. Yeah, Woody, I saw your comments on some of the videos. You definitely have a story, and you definitely have a story. I will say that. Let me actually just put up the banner very quickly. Okay. Next comment we have is Justin Beard, who is the brother. I'm here. I'm here. You got the names right, boss. I appreciate you, Justin. Thank you for being on. I appreciate you being here. And again, my condolences to you and your family. Loca says justice for Adam. Justin says you're putting all the pieces together like a puzzle. That's how look at it. Your work is beyond needed. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. We have AIC's advocate. Good evening, everyone. Hope you all had a great Easter. We have Deatra Brooks. Hello. Thank you for what you were doing. God bless. Deatra, thank you for being here. We have Golden Brown. Understand this. When they send you to prison, it's an inadvertent death sentence. They tell you you will be out in 3 years, but you die in prison. Unfortunately, that's happened to many of folk. Many of folk. AIC's advocate says, I am in Oregon and also do advocacy for adults in custody here in Oregon and have done some on other states. So definitely thank you for the advocacy. Really, really appreciate that. Golden Brown says, they have been eliminated prisoner in America prison system as far back as you can remember. Yeah, they've been unaliving individuals for decades, I mean, my research goes back to the 1980s. AIC's advocate, there is no corrections in any state facility. I agree with you. There isn't really an emphasis on corrections. Justin, everything comes to an end, and God knows these people are suffering daily enough. It can't go on. I agree with you 1,000%. Justin, oh my God, that is not okay, man. I didn't know this. That's right. New York State has stood back and allowed this to happen, and they need to be held accountable. So I think it's ironic how the New York State Attorney General is looking to remove themselves, the state of New York, and docs from being sued in these lawsuits. They are culpable. They have to take accountability and ownership for what they've done. Absolutely. Golden Brown. In the 1970s at Clinton Prison, there was bodies dug up in the old gym and nobody went to jail. Horrible. AIC's advocate, hashtag Adam Lafferty. Justin, no one has been charged still yet. That's truly unfortunate that no one has been charged. I would think his bunkie would have been charged, but that's really something else. So, okay, we have Alicia Marie DIYs. There's no excuse. Low staff means nothing. Tyrone says, peace, there will be no justice till the state of New York is charged with being indifferent in the beatings and deaths of prisoners, human rights violations. I agree 1,000%. Recently in my in a video, someone commented, you really don't have to go to El Salvador to see prisoners being tortured and beaten. Just take a look at your own backyard. Justin wrote, he wrote the letter 2 months prior, knew the day it would go down. That day he died. A CO set him up because of his lawsuit against them. Either they did it or they caused it straight up. Yeah. Crazy, absolutely crazy. AIC's advocate showing Justin some love. BJ Webbs, welcome back, BJ Webbs. I haven't seen you in a while. This is very sad. Yes, it is very sad, very unfortunate. But we're starting to see patterns. We're starting to see, this system that has just allowed this to go on for so long. So, okay. So right now I don't have anyone coming up, and that's fine. So what I want to do is just close and just say this. I'm going to be following the Adam Lafferty case. I'm going to be following the civil case. I am in communication with Justin. I'm in communication, and I will update everyone on what's occurring with this case. We need to see justice for Adam Lafferty. That needs to occur the same way we're seeking justice for Messiah Nantry, for Robert Brooks, and also those individuals who haven't died in custody. You know, Christopher Keeles, Keon Walker. I mean, there's hundreds of names that of people who are incarcerated who have been beaten, tortured, psychological tortured, and then to add insult to injury, thrown in shoe. Keon Walker is in shoe for 350 days, which is absolutely horrible. So we actually do have somebody in the back. I'm going to bring you up. The only thing I will say, if you can make sure you have no music in the back, and I'll bring you up and let's, tell me your thoughts. Here we go. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself, brother?
How's everything?
Everything is good, brother.
All right. So tell me your thoughts about the Adam Lafferty case.
It's just to me, it's just a continuing history of the Department of Corrections. What we see in the public today it's been ongoing, bro, for sadly since the 1930s in the New York State Department of Corrections. My experience, unfortunately, has been one as an individual who would find myself when I was younger taking that ride up in the rural upstate community prisons. I'm not bragging or boasting. I wish I didn't do one day in prison because, truthfully speaking, prison, it's not for people, man. It's not for people. You understand? The abuse is part of the tradition, bro, and it's ongoing. And it's really going to take a lot of effort to change it. It's almost ingrained, like it's almost genetic nowadays, so to speak. It's almost genetic. I mean, we're talking about the times from the 1930s when Dannemora was a mental hospital and prisoners were experimenting on, lobotomies were performed on them, their violent, impulsive parts of their brains were cut out, all sorts of terror was inflicted upon prisoners at Clinton Dannemora, as well as other prisoners, other prisons. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that this is just basically a continuing effect, a watershed of what has been occurring behind the scenes, you know? And what's so bad about it is that inmates over the years have always filed grievances, lawsuits, but 9 times out of 10, when you file grievances and complaints, it may very well be going before a family member for a decision. So that in itself cuts off the process. The process is not fair. The process is not fair whatsoever. Even a disciplinary hearing, they're talking about placing people in solitary confinement for 24 hours sleep. I mean, what are we, animals? You don't even do that to an animal in the zoo. You let an animal in the zoo out for hours. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the nature of things. But you know, the overall system has to be overhauled, bro. And it's going to take a lot of groundwork from people like yourself, people like me, and people that's interested. Because we can't just sit back and let these murders go on, bro. It's not right. In fact, it's a violation of human rights.
Exactly. So, in your opinion, how has this been going on for this long and just been allowed to happen for this long? I mean, why?
I say that as time went on and progressed, I left the prison system in 2006. I did 27 years, unfortunately, on that bed. Prior to that, I did 5 to 10 years. Prior to that, I did 32 months. So I'm well-rounded in the facilities. I never was in the media. I'm always in the max. So I know that that's another part of my life, you know, from another day in time. I don't cling to it. I don't claim it, but it is a part of my life. And I'm very well aware of what goes on in there. While I was there, I acted in the capacity of inmate liaison, inmate grievance representative. I was known as a rabble rouser. You understand what I'm saying? I was known from the prison authority, but it was a different climate then because I was well loved and respected. See, the prisons nowadays, they're not as united as we were. When we were united, and during those times, the prisons probably would have just shut down or they might have exploded, especially death back to back. You know, that would have been the pressure probably would have broke the pipe. And, you know, I'm in contact. I live in Albany, New York. I'm in contact with the local politicians, the governor's office. I had a family member myself that was murdered in October of 2024 at Fishkill Correctional Facility. He was involved, you know, him and being in the fight, police responding, and they beat him down, and he had a heart attack, and he's no longer with us to this day. You know, so
Oh, sorry to hear that. Wow. So do you think that, and I think I'm going to ask you a controversial question. So do you think the only way we'll get change is if there's another Attica uprising?
Brother, I just say this there, man. I'm almost 70 years old, and my human experience is this, that pressure breaks pipes. And I look at the conditions of Attica. Most people are not aware of this. The people that were in Attica, most of them only had like 3, 4, 7 years maximum. There were not a lot of lifers involved in the Attica riot. Nowadays, you have men in jail who have life with no possibility of parole. Some of them is as young as 17, 18, and 19 years old. So when you place a person in those type of circumstances and surrounding, they feel that they're being abused, or they feel at the end of the day they have nothing to lose. They very may well be another Attica or worse, or worse. And the powers that be are supposed to try to offset this. But unfortunately, from the commissioner's office on down, you know, things have always brushed to the side. The investigations, like I said, they looked and they found it as being unfounded. You know, they don't get back in a timely manner to the family. It's all sorts of inadequacies and injustice within the New York State Department of Corrections, man. And it has to be addressed, man. It has to be addressed.
Wow. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say to the people?
I just want to say this to the people. Sometimes we don't realize our power. Sometimes when we look around and we see the politicians, we see governmental figures, we feel as if though they're the power. But in reality, we the power, because we the people is one who elect them into their position. So as communities, we're going to have to get more involved with the local politicians and the local politics to ensure that people that have our best interests are in office. Plain and simple. We can't just sit back. You know what I'm saying? We got to become a collective voice, and we can make the necessary changes.
Yeah, I agree. I think people have become so complacent and so into their own world that they're not focusing on these atrocities, and people just trying to get through life and survive. And that's why evil thrives. That's why evil thrives, because good men do nothing.
Yes, yes. Silence is acceptance too. You know, when you're silent and you see an injustice and you're just being silent, then in reality, you're just as guilty as the actors who are performing that injustice. You know, just like with the National Guards. I know that's something that's being overlooked too. But the National Guards took an oath. They took an oath to serve and protect the citizens of the United States. They took an oath, you know what I'm saying, to protect people from not only international terrorism, but also what they say, internal terrorism. And that is a form of internal terrorism. I don't care how nobody want to say, how they want to define it. Consistently brutalizing prisoners is a form of terrorism. And it's a form of torture, which has been denied, or should I, which has been outlawed by the United Nations.
Yep. Okay. All right. How do you pronounce your name? Ali Sham? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Ali Sham, yes.
Ali Sham. Listen, it was a
Yeah.
pleasure connecting with you, a pleasure chatting with you. Hopefully I will see you again soon. Definitely come back on. You're welcome anytime. And take care of yourself.
I appreciate you for having me, brother. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you. Peace. Okay. Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to come on before I end the stream? Any other takers, any comments, questions, clarifications before I end? And just quickly, I really want to bring the focus back on Adam Lafferty real quick, and just understand that this is a man that predicted his own death. He knew the date that he would die, which is it's very surreal to me that this is occurring. And it's very surreal to me that no one took action to protect him. So I really commend his family. I commend the attorney for taking on this case. And I would just say, for everyone who has loved ones who are incarcerated, keep fighting for them. I know it's hard. I've spoken to too many family members and know that it's hard when they're lying to your face. In the case of Ruby Rivera, who was here a few nights ago, I mean, she basically went to the facility. They told her that, you know, her nephew was fine. Christopher Quiles was fine. And they straight up lied to the superintendent of Midstate Correctional. So to all the family members, just continue fighting, and we have to get these messages out there and be the voice of the voiceless. So for everyone, I want to say thank you for being here. Again, if you can do me a quick favor, like the stream, share the stream, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Take care, God bless, and see you next time.